Well, hello, America, and thanks for coming. My name's Seth. What's yours?
Hello, it's Jamal again.
Hi, it's Stony.
Hey, everyone, welcome to the Thanks for Coming, the most fabulously gay podcast there ever is. I have to say that I'm just a hair nervous today because we have a special guest with us all the way. Well, I guess we'll refer to them as a queer artist that you may have seen on season 9 of RuPaul's Drag Race or All Stars 3 of Drag Race, or listen to many of their amazing albums on Spotify or preferably purchased on iTunes.
Amen, sis. Amen.
Welcome, Aja.
Hello. Good morning. I wanted to say so. I wasn't sure what was the code of conduct for our language, and I definitely know. Wait, y'all are located in Oregon, right?
I'm in Portland, and those two are in Indiana.
Yeah,
Okay.
Midwest.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, we're like covering all coasts right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
Queen. All the time zones.
Oh man, I definitely was gonna be like, I know you can edit this out anyway, but I was gonna be like, I know you just want to call me a faggot. It's okay. I know that for some people find it distasteful and they get offended, and I don't want to offend anyone. Not that I care, but I care slightly about people's emotions.
Yeah, we don't mind. We're very easygoing guys, and you're more than welcome to curse and say whatever you want.
Say whatever. Yes, that's right. Say whatever is on your spirit.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, of course, to get things started, I feel like we have a pretty clear starting point because, Aja and us, we came together over Twitter, and
She didn't.
No tea, no shade between us. You know how things can come off on Twitter. So it definitely wasn't like that. So I guess, Jamal, do you want to kind of explain from your side how things started?
Oh my gosh, I feel like the child that I broke the window, but I'm trying to blame it on someone else.
You were definitely the messy one last night.
Okay.
I'm just trying to watch Drag Race, and this queen is tweeting away.
Was Jamal turned? Was he turned?
I actually was not. Surprisingly so, I was not. So here we go. Here's the story.
Okay.
What had happened was, so Queen Aja, what we like to do on Thanks for Coming is tackle any drama that there may be. We like to find out if it is drama before it is. And I was in the space of, okay, I see what Drag Race is trying to do with this narrative. So let me kind of throw out a hot take based on an old WoW Presents show that I saw. I believe it was called Follow Me. And it was basically a day in the life kind of doc following Aja's life and their day-to-day entertainment. All the zhuzh that goes into Aja.
Yes.
Yes, right, zhuzh. And I was just like, you know what? Let me say this because I have diva tendencies myself. So no harm, no foul. Aja seems like a diva though, blah, blah, blah. We'll post a tweet. I have no shame. But Aja, I did not at her or anything because, we have manners on this show. We have manners.
Yeah. We might have to be like those other fans.
Because it's not that deep. And I was like, let me just throw this out there for the listeners. They'll know where I'm coming from. And the point being is, I'm not trying to say Aja is a diva and this is why the dollhouse broke up. That was not my intention. What we like to do on the show is start a conversation. And that's what I wanted to do with you, Aja, because as a person of color and a queen who is always misunderstood, now I'm not on anybody's stage, but I like to do my best to rise up in the corporate space. So I'm like, hey, relatable content.
Life is a stage.
Ooh, that's right. Life is a stage. So I guess The Office is my stage.
I like that.
But anyway, I was like, let's go to the bottom of it. I'll make a comment, allude to a conversation, and then we'll talk about it on the episode. Because Drag Race and any reality TV show, it's going to be hard to really get a grasp of who that person is. That's not the real person that you're seeing right on the screen. They may have said this and did that, but there could be some cut and paste happening and some rearranging here and there. So apologies, Miss Aja, and to the fandom, if anything.
No, you don't owe nobody an apology. You're fine. You didn't say anything wrong, honestly. I mean, I am a diva. I'm high maintenance. I'm not gonna say I'm not. You know what it is? It's just I know what I want. I know what I like, and a lot of things especially as a New Yorker who's native, I have a lot of been there, done that. Like, you know, we get exposed to bullshit at a young age. So it's just kind of like, you know, you ever go to a restaurant and somebody's like, you want to try this? And you're like, ugh. And they're like, no, not until you try it. And you're like, I did try it.
Yeah.
You know, for me, some things in life are like that. Like, so, you know, I don't think you did anything wrong. I do think that when I saw the Follow Me documentary, however, I was like, I see what they did here. But
See, that was my reaction. I was like, why are they doing this to my good sis? And that's why I threw it out there the way I did. I was like, let's watch the haters bite and then we'll snatch them on the episode.
But the hater was me. No, I'm kidding. No, I feel like, you know, I was very feeling my pussy for a long time, to be honest with you. But not in like a, oh my God, I'm better than you way, and more in like, I really don't want to waste my time. I'm barely sleeping. I'm going from stage to stage to stage to stage, and everyone wants a piece of something, but nobody has nothing to offer. I'm a Capricorn. I'm about my money. I'm about my business. If you don't have a dollar sign next to your name and my time is in the negatives already, I don't want to hear it.
Yes.
And, you know, and now I'm in a relaxed point because, you know, I'm kind of focusing on myself and doing my own shit. And bitch, COVID is already its own fucking disaster.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to stay socially and I guess it would still be socially conscious and just not break any rules. I've been home since April. You know, when the pandemic started, I was on tour. I was in Australia. And now, girl, terrifying. I stood in LA for a month because I knew New York was gonna blow up. I came back to New York in the middle of the blue.
The epicenter.
Yes. And you know, I just stood home the whole time. You know, I didn't want to put anybody at risk. I see my mom very often. She's almost 70, and this woman catches fucking bronchitis from a cold. So I was like, you know what? She's being less careful than I am, if I'm being honest. But it's been always like that. I just know what I like. I come from a place where you have to hustle. You have to like make it because nobody's gonna make it for you. And I think that that's a big misconception sometimes, especially with people like me, that a lot of people go, why you?
Yep.
You know, you're not the biggest, you're not the most beautiful, you're not the most talented, you're not this. And my response is always, I did what nobody else had the fucking balls to do. And that's always what it is. I'm a go-getter. If I say I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of wild to hear. Like, does anybody actually say those things to you? Because I don't think of you in that manner at all.
At
you know,
all.
People will never say these things to your face.
Wow.
You can address it. I have addressed so many people so many times. Like, I heard you said this about me. I would never say that. And I'm just here like, you pussy ass bitch, just fucking say it. I have a problem with you. I'm going to tell you, I don't like you. Why? Because you said this about me. You did this to me. This was shady. If that makes me a bitch, then so be it.
See,
that's right.
And I totally get that because I am also a Capricorn. So Capricorn sis over here.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like that's kind of how I operate through life as well. It's like, well, like I remember everything everybody says. Like, you know, whenever like people are always like, how do you remember all these details? I'm like, girl, it stays here. Like, I'm not gonna punish everybody every day, but it's there when it needs to be.
Sis, my entire you know what? You want to know something? I have screenshots. I save receipts from conversations that nobody expected to. So there's gonna be one day where bitches try shit and you gotta pull out the receipts.
That's
you gotta let people know, no, that's not what was said. This is what was said, and this is how it was said, and this is what it meant.
That is right.
You know what? Because people, okay, when you're a big personality, because I think I'm a big personality. And when you're a big personality, people often try to use, here's the thing. It's ironic because people know they can't knock you down. Like, I always let people know, bitch, I will get struck by thunder before you ever knock me off.
Yes, amen.
But they know that with people like me, we are our worst enemy.
Oh yeah, big time.
So what they try to do is they try to turn you against yourself. And I've seen it happen to a lot of powerful people. And you know, just for the reference that I said powerful, because I guess it's for a lack of better words. What I mean is people who are very much in control of themselves, very aware, conscious. You know, the thing is, we're stuck with a lot of aloof motherfuckers these days.
Yeah.
Oh
all
my
these TikTok
gosh.
kids.
Bitches with no common sense, no motivation, no, they don't know nothing. You could be like, oh, girl, blah, blah, blah. What?
Oh my gosh. Say it again
my
for the people
God.
in the way back. I swear I say something like that every week, don't I?
Yeah.
Every week.
And sometimes the stuff I see these people doing, like on Twitter, especially, like with not specifically to you, but just the queens in general, like it's just like, girl, why would you even say this?
Yeah.
Why? And if
People
you are,
tag
go at
me.
'em.
People tag me and private message me ridiculous shit. When that first 10-minute bullshit came out, because honestly, at first I was like, I ain't gonna watch this shit. And then I was like, okay, I'll watch it for Candy. And then I'm back to like, I'm not gonna watch this shit. But I saw it. Oh, no, I didn't see it first. I got text message. First, I got a million text messages from people like, are you okay? Like, I got text messages from like Shay, from Farrah. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh my
Why is
gosh.
everyone asking me if I'm okay? Girl, of course. And then, you know, after that, I was just like, well, here we are.
Here we are.
You know, I'm like, I guess, and I started getting, you know, messages, people telling me, oh, fuck you, bitch, you're jealous of Candy, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
That is so ridiculous how people just respond that way.
I
Immediately.
mean, you know, I mean, to me, it was just like, what's your point? Like, what did you think you did? Like, like you, okay. You know, I think some people think the internet is a real place. And I think that they are stopping bags, that they are like, bitch, I ended you. You're canceled. Bitch, to me, I sit there and I go, let me go check my bank account real quick. Hold on.
Oh,
That's right.
We good.
Oh.
That's right. Let them live in their fantasy while the rest of us are out here in reality, disconnecting when we need to and muting your ass when we need to.
Yeah, this pandemic has been fierce because part of me is like, I have a lot of free time and I love to combat with the girls online. I love to be like, and what, bitch, and what, you know.
I love a petty moment.
But you know, because a lot of people don't expect you to do it. Like they be like, oh, like they're looking for. I'm like, you went looking for a reaction and you got one.
Right.
Now what?
Yeah.
It's like Merry Christmas to you, bitch. Like you got some of my time free. I mean, it's good to know that I will never be homeless because I literally live rent free in so many people's fucking minds. It's just like,
it's so crazy. I just don't understand. Like we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Like I just don't understand like why people feel the need to like be so hateful on the internet all the time. Like, cause like, you know, we watch Drag Race as fans and like, obviously we have our own opinions about like different looks and just like things that people do on the show. But I've never like had the urge to just like tweet at like a queen and be like,
never,
you know, that was fucking terrible, or you did this and that. It's like, to me, it's just like a show and it's like entertainment, but that's where it ends. So it's very confusing to me that like people feel the need to like attack the queens online. It's so weird.
It's wild.
it is really weird. And you know, it's crazy because people, you know, a lot of the fandom likes to push this narrative that all fandoms are like this. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know, there is a weird, like deep rooted, like racism and classism in the Drag Race fandom where they sort of uphold everyone to be into some template. It's sort of like the beauty standards in America, like where there becomes a template. And I believe that it was after like season 7 of Drag Race where they made the template drag queen, and then it was like every queen who didn't fit that for a few years was like, oh, you were trash, you're ugly, you're disgusting. And then it became like out of nowhere, you know, and then it became like, you know, and I'm gonna say this not because it's edgy, but because it's true. And then all of a sudden, liking the Black queens became popular. And now people are like pro the Black queens. And to me, I'm like, okay, well, watch next year when Black lives no longer matter to these bitches anymore.
Thank you.
And then they're going to be like, whatever, which it never stopped the people from being like, oh, you know how many times I've seen these black girls are winning just because of Black Lives Matter.
Yes. So tiring. That happened to me. I'm not even like a big fish influencer. I have a little blog and this podcast. And I got at least 5 like reach out type emails, pitches. They're like, hey, we'd really like to feature you. And one of them was like, actually, we've been in communication before and you didn't want to work with me the way you're trying to work with me now. So what is it?
I think, okay. Now we're getting deep and we just started.
Yeah, baby. Let's do it.
And this is sort of a kind of way that I'm going to correlate this to Drag Race in many ways too. But, people don't understand the concept of black baiting, of, trans baiting. When, you were not in the support of something, but you saw you were losing support. So you decided to quickly and greatly embrace, but without apology.
Right.
And to me, that's when someone's identity becomes a trend, and the support becomes more of a fad than it is a genuine support. And I want to say it too, like that's how I felt about at first, honestly. And I don't know, I don't work for fucking casting. I don't work for Drag Race. I don't know what the fuck is going on there, but I've been wanting to see like a trans person be on the show for a long time. And after season 9, when RuPaul made those like really lewd statements about trans and what it was to be trans and why trans people were not on the show, I was very happy that Got Mick was cast on the show, because Mick has been a very hardworking performer and entertainer and artist. And I really hope that they were cast in genuinity. And either way, they're successful and they have a lot of support. And I know they're going to be loved by the fans. But I hope that this is not a trend and that it continues. And I hope that, next year we see trans women and newer faces. Like I want to keep seeing it. So, I'm happy for that. But like that at the same time, I still feel like RuPaul should come forward and make an apology of what she said, because, people said she did, but I don't remember this. And
it doesn't register for me either, not to cut you off, but I feel like we talk about this all the time on the show. We actually started the podcast on All Stars 3, and we were kind of RuPaulologists for a while. And then finally it was like a shift one episode. We were like, we need to hear something from the top.
Well, because also too, when Black Lives Matters was really surging, RuPaul was silent. Like, yeah, maybe we saw some statement from VH1, but RuPaul never really said anything. And that was really weird. Especially RuPaul as a person of color, queen of color. She knows the struggle that, you all go through more than her now, probably, because you're not, you're on different levels of whatever. But I mean, it was really disheartening to see RuPaul not say anything when that was going on.
I didn't expect her to say anything, to be honest. I mean, RuPaul has never really spoken up about anything that wasn't on camera, or like, at the same time, I think about like what RuPaul said to the Vixen at the reunion. And when she said, she was like, I'm a black man, you're a black man, I went through what you went through, which one is completely invalid, because I feel like not only are all black experiences different, I feel like, RuPaul is someone who had a lot of support from a lot of like club kids, and especially like powerful, like, white party people in the industry, also someone who played into the trope they were expected to play. I mean, let's not, let's not joke. Like RuPaul in the early 90s wasn't giving very much like, I hate this word, but sass, like, she was playing into the character that people wanted. And, she did a good job and she became famous, and good for her. But, that moment showed me personally that I don't really think she's very much like, I don't think she has anything to say. I don't think it's that she's against it. I just don't think she has an opinion on it. I think she's very much, RuPaul is in her bag.
She has the money. She's like, I'm good, whatever.
And the way I felt about it too is I was like, you know what, you're a black man, and honestly, I feel like racism is honestly a white person's problem.
Yeah.
And that's the truth too. And I had this conversation with with someone, a family member, and I was like, we were talking about it, and he just goes, honestly, he was like, as a black man in America, I don't really give a fuck. And he was like, I'm not gonna go out there and scream Black Lives Matter. He's like, you see all these white people doing it? Let them. He's like, they're the ones who need to do the work. And I was like,
yeah.
You know what? I was like, work.
Yeah, that's tea right there, because that's the realization I came to this year. I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at having conversations. I like to think I can have an open moment, but then there's been a few moments over the summer where that's been thrown in my face, like my words were twisted. So I'm very much there as well. The white people, hashtag not all white people, get out of our faces with that, need to do the work.
Yeah,
definitely.
I feel like the work is there for the white community, but I do feel like at the same time, okay, we have to treat it like if this was a panel, there would be, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like people listen to white people more. I mean, it's just the reality.
Yeah.
But I feel like, if the black moderators moderate and say, this is the tea, and then the white person delivers that message, a lot more people hear it. Or I mean, in reality, people should just listen to black voices from the get.
Totally, yeah.
That would make life.
Yeah, just at least 5% easier, maybe 5%.
I think that's like, so like, just so you know, like Jamal and I are married, but I grew up in like kind of like Southern Indiana, like conservative, like family. And like, to me, like, I think white people just need to educate themselves. Like, unfortunately, like our education system doesn't really do a good job of explaining kind of the injustices that have happened. So it's like white people especially need to, I don't know, open a book, watch some documentaries, like ask questions and not be so defensive, and actually just open your mind a little bit, because it's just so, I don't know. I feel like a lot of white people in this country are so set in their ways. And if they just, I don't know, went to it and talked to black people and actually listened to black people, we would be a lot better off. Because I had to do a lot of learning myself, like after I started dating Jamal. So,
the real tea too is just that this country is built on oppression and the pillage and murder of indigenous people of culture, under the name of God. Like, let's go take, let's take all these people from West Africa and bring them to all these places because God told us so. And then, let's take away their tradition, their identity, their names and everything. Let's kill all these indigenous people, claim this land. We found it. And then it's, then it's like, years later, make them believe that they have a spot in this world, and then over time shove them into low-income neighborhoods, call it the ghetto, increase the crime rates, and then call it a conspiracy if anyone tries to, go against it. It's really all bullshit. If you look at all the if you look at all the 60s headlines, the stories and everything, look at how heavily applauded Martin Luther King is, like for resisting. We're not doing anything, but look how people downplay Malcolm X, someone who really like took a different approach. It seems to me that there is an acceptable way to be a black person in America, and if you're not that, then the white community doesn't want to have it. Meanwhile, you have a lot of like white crimes. You have a lot of the same shit happening, but it's just looked at from a different scope. Why? Because that's what they've been doing this whole time. So it's just it's natural. But when when a person of color, a black person does it, suddenly it's animalized. It's tame the beast.
That's right. I was just talking about that randomly with the Real Housewives of Potomac and that whole drama. I was like, there's something happening here. It's too much to talk about in this little Instagram story I'm giving you, but Google colorism and good hair versus bad hair, good blacks, bad blacks. It's just way too much of that conditioning happening.
I hate that. I hate the idea of bad hair. I hate that. I hate it when people say that. When people say things like for me, and it's difficult for me to navigate as a mixed race person too, because I get caught in the middle of things. For reference, my father's Nigerian, but through the byproduct of slavery in Puerto Rico. And my mother is indigenous Puerto Rican, but her grandmother's Welsh. I don't know how that works. But yeah, I'm like, y'all travel too much. But you know, I get caught in the conversation sometimes where people don't realize that I'm part of the Black community, and then they say things to me like, you know, oh, like, you know, Black people are so ugly. And I'm like, whoa!
Oh my gosh!
Like, what?
Oh my gosh! Or you're cute for a Black guy.
Or right, or oh, you know, you're the only Black person I've ever been with.
Yes.
Oh God.
Oh my God, that has happened to me.
It's like so alarming too when people say that, because like I distinctly like remember a moment like where one of my relatives like we would be watching, I think it was American Idol, and she was like you know, an elder generation to me. She's like, oh, sing it right, don't sing it Black. And I was like, what? I was like, it's like so awkward, because like you're so completely wrong. Like, why would you even say that out loud? Like, that's so fun. By the way, I'm not these people all got cut. They got cut loose in this whole Black Lives Matter.
Oh, Seth will cut a bitch out. Seth will cut a bitch out. You see.
These people are all like pushed away to the outer circle.
I have gotten so much of the Aja hates white people. Like, it's like, no, I don't hate white people. It's just like, bitch, like, don't be stupid. Like,
that was gonna be one of my questions for you. It's now being kind of pushed into the public eye through Drag Race, and now you're kind of shifting, going into a music career. How do you navigate that, where you're just trying to be your authentic self and communicate, and you meet that kind of immediate pushback?
The pushback is mental. It's internet. The internet is not real. And I had a hard time navigating and understanding that in the first year or so. And I found myself fighting myself and fighting people who didn't matter, because I was like, you know, these people didn't even support me back then. They just want a reason to fight. And, you know, I started to realize, you know, I spent the whole year, like, I'll be real. By the end of 2019, I was on the phone with the suicide hotline like every day. Like, I was like, girl, I'm going to kill myself. Like, I was like sitting there just at it. I was done. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have no reason to live. Like, you know, I'm done. Like, everyone's ruining my life. But then honestly, I had went and I sort of like took a reflection on my year, and I was just like, you know what? It's funny because all of this shit was just all talk. Nothing.
It's
like
all on the internet.
All of my shows were amazing. Like, even there were a few shows that people gave me shit for like doing music, but like I was like, girl, like fuck those shows. Like, what about the ones that went great? Like, I don't want to discredit all the hard work I did and like, you know, all the other shit for just because, you know, that,
right?
You know, granted, there was 2 shows in that whole year out of maybe like what 200 that I did that were terrible, and I remember them. It was Lisbon in Portugal, and it was Las Vegas. Oof,
Las Vegas.
Yo, let me tell you something. We started our set, and like there was like these just like twinks in the front, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?"
Oh gosh, of course they were twinks.
Oh no, not the twinks.
Now, well, the thing is, I want to bring this to attention too. You know, I think that a lot of things, you hear me? A lot of times, people don't understand how difficult the intersection between Black culture and queer culture can be. And for me, as someone who does hip hop, it's difficult because queer people don't like hip hop, and a lot of people in hip hop don't like gay people. So, you know, when you become that person that's in that intersection, you have to find where your support is. Yeah. And I realized, honestly, that about 85 to 90% of my following from Drag Race was down for the ride. There was like a 10 to 15% that were like, nope. And, you know, I was like, you know what? Another thing too, and I think it's something that every Drag Race person should know, every girl, boy, them, they, I think everyone who goes on TV should know that the Drag Race fans are not your fans. They're fans of the show.
Mm-hmm.
A fan of you is not a person who just followed you on Instagram. So those followers don't mean shit. What matters is who's really showing up to support you for you. Not the people who show up to the show and go, is she gonna jump from there? It's the people who show up and have a genuine interest in you as a person. And of course, that's a fraction of what it is. And I can honestly say that out of all of my following, if I have, I've lost so many followers on social media from like not pandering to what people want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that where I'm at now, at least 80% is down for the ride, and it may be nowhere near what it could have been. But then that's when you differentiate, real from fake, honestly, and that's where you differentiate people who are hungry dogs and people who have integrity. And the thing about me is that I was not gonna lay my artistic integrity to rest because, some woman with a 2-year-old in Kansas City was like, I love you so much. Fuck you. Like,
whatever.
Okay. I'm talking about the girls who bring their babies to drag con. They're like, she loves you. And I'm like, she didn't know who the fuck I am. Like,
oh my
God.
It's very that. And the thing is, I have my own personal battle with drag, I guess. And I feel unfortunately I had that in public because I didn't really have an outlet,
Right.
I couldn't really go to therapy. I was on tour nonstop. And, what was really happening with me was that I was finding that when I took off the makeup and the hair, I was not really I never had a state of transformation. I never had a state of where I'm like, oh, I'm a different person or different being, or I'm on or off. I was like, no, I'm the same person. And I found that very weird. And when I started my first written project that was going to be published, which was In My Feelings, my first EP, which was, it was a more clubby, like house rappy type of like shit, like track record. And I struggled a lot with my gender at that time because I was like, okay, what perspective am I writing this from?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made me realize that I don't think I'm a drag artist as much as a musician, because I said, wait, I can't write about things that are not prevalent in my life or relevant to me. Yeah. I don't have the ability to sit down and write boobs, hair, makeup, claws. Like I didn't relate to it. So everything that I wrote about was from personal experience. And that's what I found was working for me. So I continued to go down that route. I realized that I didn't want to perform gender. Drag was me performing a gender that I didn't have to perform because I could just live it. And that led to a year of me having this fight of if you're not doing drag, why are you dressed like that? Why do you look like that? That's drag.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
It pushed the struggle for me further because then I was just like, I feel now like I have to prove something.
Yeah.
And nobody should ever have to feel they have to prove their identity or where they come from. And it's also something that happened with the Drag Race fan base too, is I never went on Drag Race and said, hi, like, I'm Afro-Latino, like, hi, I'm in the Black community. So a lot of people pinned me as racially ambiguous. So when I started to really, no cap, I really whitewashed myself for television. And not just television, but when I started coming out in the drag scene in New York, I was shunned a lot. And people called me ghetto. Somebody accused me and like my friends, who were also people of color, of stealing shit all the time. Like, it was very that people would only book you to do high energy dance. Like, can you do a ghetto number? Can you do something like sass? Like, people love that.
Yeah.
And it became that. And, when I went on Drag Race, I was very much like, so I'm this and I'm that and blah, blah, blah. And it was, looking back at it now for me is so cringe because I'm just like, that's not me. Mm-hmm. And I think that all this, when I wrote my first project, all of this really surfaced for me. And I said, I have to be proud of who I am. I have to be proud of my roots. I have to stop feeling like ashamed for who I am because society tells me that I have to be. And, It was kind of fucked up on my part too, because I feel like as a light-skinned person, like I have the privilege of being able to pretend I'm not Black if I want to.
Yeah.
And you know, that I realized how dangerous that privilege was. And I realized how I didn't want to do that, because if I do that, I'm selling my soul, and two, I started realizing, like, especially like how difficult it was for like my darker skin, colleagues, and it was really hard to watch.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, if you're gonna attack these people, attack me too, because I'm part of that community, and if you talk about them, you talk about me.
Right.
That's right.
So, I mean, you see people attack Vixen and stuff like that. And I'll have to admit, like, I didn't quite understand where she was coming from at first, but, that's because I'm not, I wasn't educated enough at that point in my life. But then, she's really was ahead of the curve, because, then after that, you see the Black Lives Matter movement. Everything she was saying on the show is like everything that was being said in the media. Like everyone finally just like somehow got it, like, and so then at that point I'm like, damn, like, I was too like tough on Vixen. Like she was just saying the truth, and I was the one that just didn't get it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, honestly, like it makes me really emotional to had like watch that whole thing and like kind of like see how it went down. And I felt really bad for the Vixen, and it was around the time where I got really vocal, and I was like, this is and I was like, this is the tea. You have to like see where she's coming from. And I got a lot of backlash for it. I had a show in it was in Ireland, it wasn't in Dublin, but it was in Northern Ireland. What is that city called?
High Blue, Hydrangea.
Yeah, it was. She was there.
Oh wow!
I was a gig with her. Fuck. Whatever.
I'm trying to think.
I don't know. I don't know geography.
I was in Northern Ireland, and I was doing a song that I have called "Demons, Witches, and Bitches," and Vixen is on the track. And I was like, oh my God, and I always say that, I always say shout out to the Vixen. So I was like, shout out to the Vixen. Like she did this song with me, and everyone in the crowd started booing.
Oh,
damn.
No.
And I was like, wait, why are y'all booing? And there were people who were like, she's such a fucking bitch. Blah, blah. I was like, wait. I was like,
oh my gosh.
I was like, and where do you get this from? They're like, well, they were just kept booing. So I literally was like, fuck y'all. I was like, I was feeling it also. I don't have a lot to drink. But I was like, fuck y'all. I was like, you bunch of racist fucking pieces of shit. And I threw the mic on the floor and I left.
Oh yeah.
And I got so much backlash for it. Like people were like, oh wow, like really? Like, and I just kept thinking to myself, like, I ended up coming back a half an hour later and I just finished my set to be professional.
Yeah.
But I stated what I had to say, and I said, y'all are fucked up. And I got a lot of backlash online, including someone trying to equate being Black to being Catholic in Ireland, quote unquote,
no.
saying that the Catholics were the niggers in Ireland. And I was like,
wow.
I literally had to. First of all, I was like, I didn't say nothing because I was like, for one, I was like, you just hard-r'd while comparing Catholic people to what? I was
verified.
Like, first of all, Catholic people fucking enslaved half the world. What are you talking about? First, never in my life have I heard a story about African people come to America and enslaving anybody.
Not
right. I was just like, what are you talking about? And it's just that type of thing. And, people love to play this game, and it's especially international. I had this conversation with a fan who was Brazilian, and they were like, why do you always act like you're Black? And I was like, well, I am a mixed race person. They were like, but in Brazil, you would be considered white. I was like, well, in America, everyone's fucking mixed. Get over it. And like, they were like, oh. And then they, we ended up going deep into the conversation because I really wanted to see where they're coming from. That's another thing about me is I'm very diplomatic, and I want to see what you're saying because I want to make it make sense. And, they explained to me that in Brazil, a lot of people have internal racism, and that, you know, if you even have a hint of lightness to your skin, you're like, I'm not Black. So they said, you know, a lot of people get shamed, and a lot of people, you know, nobody wants to be Black. And I said, you know, that's not as uncommon as you think. It happens a lot, especially New York. We see it a lot in the Dominican community. We see it in the Puerto Rican community. You see it with people who don't realize that ethnicity and race are not the same. You know, and they're like, I'm not Black, I'm this. But you know, sometimes you're like, girl,
Yeah.
I don't know what game you're playing, you know. But you know, and I think that type of division is so harmful. I mean, it's the reason why we have Dominican Republic and Haiti. You know, if people really look at the history of Hispaniola and how the French, you know, went and they colonized, and then when there was when the revolution happened, you know, there was still a lot of hush slavery and a lot of hush, you know, segregation, basically creating a part where there was all the Black skin people were on one side of the island and all the light skin people were on another side. And that's what really created that. And, you know, but people don't know that. And people think that this obsession with race is an American concept. But it's because America is really the playground or battle zone where all of this shit really took place. You know? So.
And with I mean, I know they're, you know, the queens, they're trying to like help push, like, you know, they're trying to educate, I guess is maybe the right word, these fans. It's like, you know, I don't know if you watched the Build series with Monet that came out, I think it was like Thursday or Friday, but Monet specifically asked all the girls, like, what do you have to say to these fans that are you know, treat the Black, you know, and the other people, the queens of color differently. So I thought that was really interesting, because I don't think I've ever seen it like that question that blatantly asked, like, to the cast.
Oh,
I feel like that question should be asked, because to be real with you, like, you know, there's been a few people from the past of the show who have made very big statements that were very well appreciated, but there have been a lot of people who ain't say shit either. Like, and I find that some of the people with huge platforms didn't say shit. And, you know, it's like, you know, how, in my opinion, how can you call yourself an ally to a community if you don't speak up when your voice is the most needed?
Definitely.
You know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and too, with, you know, especially with the trans community of color, like, you know, I saw other podcasters that are Black, and, you know, they put out a podcast about, like, why, I don't even know exactly what it is, but it was basically like about how they don't about how like trans people are like whatever, you know, like their cis feelings about it or whatever. And so like it was just really uncomfortable, because like I was trying to have a conversation. I'm like, if, you know, I'm like, here, like, Black lives do matter, but like, why are you not supporting all the Black lives? It's very confusing to me, that especially in their own community.
When people talk about, you know, trans lives, you know, they act very, very much like there's lives that are disposable. And in my mind, sometimes I just think like, you know, you should have been camed in someone's ass because you're acting like a piece of shit.
Hello.
And in that same breath, I just think like, you know, nobody ever told you how you had to do shit. So why sometimes I just don't understand what girl, it costs nothing to not be worried about someone's genitals, hormones, or business, and just support a life. Just support a life. You know, I think like think about the person you love the most in your life, that person, whether it be your mom, your brother, your sister, whoever the fuck. Imagine that person wakes up tomorrow and realizes that they can't keep up with this lie, that they're like, you know what, I'm gonna go on hormones and I have to get these surgeries and I feel like I need to fit in the body. And even if they don't want to get surgeries or get on hormones, because there are trans people who don't feel comfortable with their gender but don't feel the need to do anything about it. Maybe they just want to dress differently. You know, people manifest in different ways. I like to tell people who say mean shit about the trans community, like, imagine the person you love the most doing that. Do you stop loving them because of that, or does it become a handicap? Suddenly you have something to think about, because if it does, that means you are incapable of love, and it means that you are the problem.
That's right.
There
and
you
no
go.
one likes looking in the mirror or the truth.
Right.
I love looking in the mirror. Speak for yourself.
I mean, and I know on the show we very much champion trans people. You know, we've done podcasts and stuff. You know, we've had trans people on the show before. My question is, and this is something I was wondering, is what do you think about when people say like, oh, there's not enough trans queens on the shows, but then there are like non-binary and genderqueer people? Like, does that? I mean, to me, the way I understand it is that they kind of fall under the trans umbrella. So is that? I guess I'll let you talk at this point.
I think that anything that if you whatever feeling doesn't equate to your gender assigned at birth or sex assigned at birth or whatever it is, if you don't associate or feel like you are that, then I feel like you do fall under the trans umbrella. There's different terminologies, obviously, and there's going to be dense people like it's too much, and when people say it's too much, then I just be like, well, girl, I guess you'll never work in an office, you'll never be successful, you'll never have nothing, because obviously it's too much, meaning that you cannot grasp a single fucking concept.
Hello.
Yeah, it's crazy to me, because it's like, I've heard on not to start drama, but on other queens podcasts, I've heard things that didn't quite sit right with me, and because they were saying, I hope we're seeing all this things, we're seeing like all these trans people and these people of color being brought on the show. I would love to see that in Drag Race UK. And here in my mind, I'm thinking there are at least 2 queens that are non-binary on the Drag Race UK cast. I'm like, what? It feels like their identity is being invalidated.
I don't think it's being invalidated. I think that there's this shitty thing where people sort of base everything on presentation. I mean, that was what started the RuPaul controversy anyway, because she was like, oh, if you don't have surgeries or moans, that you're not fully trans, whatever that means. I feel like, people do unfortunately, people do invalidate the identities of those who don't necessarily adhere to some societal construct of aesthetic or of something you see or look at. However, I think that I think most of all, even though people do devalidate that, I think the biggest injustice here is really 2 trans women. And I think that what we really want to see are new, fresh faces of trans women who, are allowed to be themselves from the start and do not feel the need, that they weren't pressured to present any other way, to get on the show. I want it to be so equal opportunity that tomorrow, we could get beautiful we can get someone like Sasha Colby, Aurora Sexton, someone who's just like, it's not a new transition. They're in the game. They're a known, amazing artist, not to discredit any other trans people who have been on Drag Race. I do feel like there's been a lot of coming out stories on Drag Race, and with the exception of Mick, who is a trans male, we've never had a fresh face come onto the race as trans and presenting how they feel the most comfortable.
Okay.
That's what I want to say, because I was trying to find the word for it, because Peppermint went on Drag Race trans as well. I mean, you don't wake up, it sounds silly, but you don't wake up one day and just go, I'm trans. You're trans since you were born. And, this is your identity, and but it's up to the person to decide when they want to flutter or when they want to like spread their wings. When they decide that person feels comfortable to present how they want to present, that's how it goes. And, when the producers didn't know Peppermint was trans.
Really?
I outed her by accident. actually.
Wow.
Oh.
And you don't see that because that didn't happen that same day. But Peppermint and me were working on the same team for something. I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. But I was sitting next to Peppermint and I said, wow, Pep, I have to tell you, I think it's so fucking cool that you're the first trans woman to ever walk into this room with trans women and be on the show. And she was like, thank you so much. Literally, I don't know where cameras, producers
Cut.
Oh no!
Oh my
like-
gosh.
And then, the next day, no, it was Snatch Game. Then the next day, suddenly, it's a topic of conversation.
Oh no!
Oh, it's prompted
But,
by the producers.
Oh no, I don't want to say it's them. I think they just wanted to find a way to put it into the show without it devalidating her story or without it not making sense.
Okay.
Because it would be really random.
Right.
It was random. But that was how I think they really found out. But I mean, I've heard sources claim that they knew the whole time. Girl, I don't know. I also don't really give a shit. But I do know that I was so happy. I was like, if you being here is so fucking important. And I really wish RuPaul never said those statements. Because when she made those statements, I believe somebody was like, well, what about Peppermint? And then that was when she was like, well, she didn't have this or that. Like, to me, that is where it was
quantifying their transness or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like trans. You hear me? I was gonna say trans was a woman. I feel like Peppermint has always been a woman in my eyes, and she never needed anybody's validation for that. But I was just so happy to see that. But I would love to see someone not having to feel uncomfortable or think twice and knowing that they can come on and in their little confessional, they can be full fucking, like, if you want to be fully beat and just like, bam, like, big old biddies. Like, I think that was, seeing Gia on All Stars
4?
Four, was very refreshing when she was in her confessional and she was all dolled up, and I was like, yo, this is like so new as a viewer, and I think it's so cool, and I think that it's I know that she felt tokenized because she spoke up about it several times, but I think it was so cool as a viewer to finally see that representation, and I hope we get to see more of that. I want to see more of that. And I want to see new faces too. I think all the older faces are just as important. There's a lot of trans women and trans identities that have come out the franchise. But I would love to see new ones added, like Meg and other trans people who feel comfortable in their right. But like, when I say comfortable, I don't mean with themselves. I just mean in the setting of the show, not feeling like they have to be pressured to be anything else.
That's right. They don't have to feel that need to edit for anybody else, unless it's like, you know what? I should have wore the yellow earrings instead. Let me go change. Like,
right.
Well, with all that being said, I wanted to ask you this specifically because on our show, we like to respect pronouns as best we can. When the queens are in drag, we tend to slip into she, oh girl, oh queen. As a performer, both in and out of drag, being a non-binary person,
I like non-berry.
Non-dairy berry person.
I am a non-dairy person.
That's that whiskey kicking in. But do you think, in your opinion, should we be respecting pronouns at all times, or do we get a little bit of a pass because she's in drag on stage? I wanted to ask you directly.
We talked about this with Gottmik a lot. Because we always say she, so it's like, are we disrespecting Gottmik by saying like, oh, look at her, like she's
in drag,
got an amazing look or whatever? So
I feel like it's a case-by-case scenario.
Okay.
To be honest with you, for me personally, I don't have a preferred pronoun. And I there's only one thing I hate, and it's what people tend to do to artists, who like queer artists or drag artists or anybody who's like does anything costumey. It's very, you're a grown-ass man. You're a man. I hate that condescending bullshit because it's just like, first of all, little bitch.
You can still get it.
Say it for everybody in the back.
Girl, sometimes I have to remind myself too. Like, I'd be like, where I come from, we don't do words. I'm not good with my words, and I'll admit that when I'm pissed, I don't make any fucking sense. Like all I know how to do is be like, "Fuck you, you ugly dumb bitch," like But you know, I grew up. You know, I know people who are like, I've never had to fight in my life. Well, see, where I come from, I had to fight for everything. So it's like, you know. Being in this realm where that's so looked down upon, like, oh, you're a dirty bitch if you decide that, you know, a bitch deserves to get smacked. I don't give a fuck. Bitch, if you come out tell people, say what you want online and I'll give you a little kiki. I'll entertain it a little bit. For what? Shits and giggles. Absolutely. Right. But if you really want the smoke, then you come to my show and you let me know what's good. Because I will do it on stage. I will do it at the meet and greet. I will do it outside. And I don't have no fucking shame. Bitch, you want to throw hands? Let's throw hands.
That is me. Go. That's the side that everyone's so offended when they push that button and you show them that side. Then they want to get all scared and, oh, well, I never. It's like, no, bitch, you knew. You knew something was coming.
You text somebody once and they're like, I'm going to call the police. Call the fucking police. I'll call the police for you. 911, I just fucked the bitch up.
That's why he runs away from me. He's like, oh, Jamal's gone. Just let him go.
Game over. Mad. Let him have a spot.
He's like, well, gotta get Jamal now.
Let's make sure the bail money's ready.
Push that button, girl. I'm telling you.
The Beyonce fund's gonna be going towards something else.
but people, you know, that's the thing though. I don't like to be violent because I feel like one, it's expected, but I feel like radical behavior comes from a place of always feeling like I'm, you know, shoved in the corner, or feeling like, you know, you try to silence me, you try to belittle me, you try to do everything you can in the world to make me feel small for something that's honestly your fault. It's just honestly, people always gaslight, you know, queer people, Black people, any minority is often heavily gaslit. And I'm just like,
totally.
That's my biggest pet peeve. When you fuck up and then you try to tell me I'm wrong.
Yes. Ooh. Yes.
Bitch, that deserves a couple licks on its own. Just
drag a girl. Grab the hair and drag.
That sets me off. I swear. I studied public relations in college, so I've got like the HR approved response for everything. But inside, I'm just like, where are my brass knuckles and Vaseline? It's time to roll up.
I've told a few Drag Race girls, like, you better calm the fuck down because there's a sidewalk outside.
Oh my God.
I've told people before, watch your fucking mouth. Like, I get that you talk to other people like that, but I'm not one of your fucking minions and I'm not one of these fans, bitch. I will fuck you up.
That's right, 100%. And they're always so caught off guard. And it's like, yeah, think about that
girl,
shit.
You really need to calm down. Tell me to calm down again and I'm really gonna fuck you up.
Hello.
Really, yeah.
Oh my God. That's why bitches don't say shit to me. I was talking to Jiggly the other day. And we was having a conversation about fraudulent bitches, and I was like, you know something? I said, it's the truth. Bitches love to do this talking game. Let me tell you something. Anything that I say to you or you is getting told to the person I said it about. I will let every bitch know. Yes, I said this about you, and that's how I feel. But I have a reason to feel that way. This is why I feel that way. So why did you say this about me? What reason you think that? I think the fuck not. Okay. You know,
get the girls together, gather those edges.
People call me messy, but I think I'm just good at organizing other people.
That's all it is.
Together.
That's that Capricornness there, man. It's like, cause that's I mean, I'm not like, not to the same degree that you deal with, but you know, I feel like a lot of times like people at work be like, they'll want to say like, oh, Seth's a complainer, he complains too much. And I'm like, I'm not complaining, I'm giving you constructive criticism. Right. And if you're not hearing, then that is a different issue. It's like, I'm not complaining. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This is not complaining. And so I kind of relate to that matter.
No, you know, and also like, it's like, I wouldn't lead anybody into the darkness or the wrong direction either. Like, you know, which is one of the reasons why I was really caught off guard by like Candy's 10 minutes, whether or not she said or the producer said it, like that whole bit about the like, well, Aja used to tell me I'm not famous, so calm down. Well, yeah, because you were making yourself look crazy. And like there were well, no, it's the honest truth is that people were saying mean things about her. And you know, honestly, she was my friend. She was someone who I really loved and cared about. And I was like, yo, like, I don't want people talking bad about you, but also you're connected to my name right now. So I can't have you going places and starting fights with people or doing anything. And I was trying to humble her.
Okay. Yeah,
Which, honestly,
because it's still, that's family, but this is a business still.
Well, a girl she was carrying. And you know, and we loved her. We loved her. We still were like, yo, you got this. And I, you know, it made me feel bad because like I felt like, oh, did I make her feel like she was lower? Because I never meant to do that. I was literally just saying like, hey girl, like, you know, you hinder yourself when you allow the ego to go out of control. Yeah. So, you know, draw it back and people will really be into that, you know, and what she did, and she ended up very prosperous. So I was just like, oh, okay, work. You know, I chose to make no further statements on that because I was like, I have nothing to say about this. Obviously, we all know I'm not jealous. Everything she did, I've done already. And, you know, I wish her nothing but the best. And I wish her nothing but success and happiness.
It sounds like you're just being a good drag mom to me.
You're trying to be like a good friend too.
The fact that you questioned like some of like her statements and like, oh, was I a bad friend? It tells me that you were a good friend. Yeah. You know, that you actually cared enough to be like, what did I do wrong? Exactly. You know, I don't want to do that to her.
Well, yeah, you know, I feel like, you know, we all get into those things. We've all said shit to each other before. Has Candy called me, a dumb, ugly bitch? Yes. Have I ever called her a fat, big, bad gorilla? Yes. Like, you know, this is gay shit. This is like drag family 101, gay family 101, ballroom shit. You know, you look like an overgrown orangutan. Like, this is just how we talk. And like, does it mean that we hate each other? No. But I felt like, you know, I felt like I never meant to hurt anyone. So I did feel. I just got to
yeah. Very, very cash. Do what you need to do.
I just felt like, you know, I didn't mean to do anything. But then I felt like, you know, I tweeted like this genuine response of like, wow, I can't believe my friend would go on TV and drag my name. Honestly, because we never spoke about that. And this whole year, I barely saw Candy. Like I literally saw her once or twice, you know, and it was brief.
Yeah. Did you know she was like going on the show then? Like, did you know she was recording? And
I found out by accident. I found out because my partner lied to me and told me someone else got on the show because he's a fucking troll. And he was like, oh, this bitch got on the show. And I was like, really? So I called Candy and I was like, yo, did you get a call back? And she was like,
crickets. Crickets.
So I leave in a week. And I was like, oh, okay. You know,
shit.
I was like, well, but and you know, I have the receipts too. I was just like, I hope you do well. Like, I'm really hoping the best for you. Like, I'm proud of you. I kept tabs on her. Like when she came back, I was like, I hope you're doing good. So, you know, that did really like kind of like catch me off guard. And then I texted her to talk about it. And I was just like, okay. And then, you know, I was like, maybe we can clarify this. So it's not like a thing. Because people are still attacking. Wait, first of all, people are still attacking me. They're like, you were putting Candy down. I was like, I never put her down.
We're not surprised. We're not surprised.
You know, which is honestly, again, something I never meant to do. And, you know, again, I do feel bad about that.
I liked your tweet because you said it in one line. It's like, I had a human reaction, and people forget that, okay, well, let people process. And then 2, it's not your business. So 3, it's probably fine off camera, but y'all are stuck in what these cameras are giving you and trying to stir up some shit that's not there.
Right. Because on the stage, Candy's like, oh, well, you know, like to me, it felt like a passing out. Like there's no more House of Aja because there's not.
Oh, but, I mean, I didn't take shade to that at all because I felt like, you know, when that whole thing happened, first they made the dollhouse. They didn't consult me, but I didn't really care because I was doing my own thing and we were all going our own separate ways.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like everything after that got lost in translation. And, after that, it was just like, I don't know, things got messy because like everybody was fighting online. And then next thing you know, Candy and Janelle just unfollowed me on all social media. And then I was like, okay. So then I which I was confused and I texted both of them. Janelle blocked my number. And then Candy was like, oh, look, I feel hurt by what you said. And I was like, well, I just said that I was hurt by the things you said because you literally said that I was beneath you and that you said I was jealous of you. That's hurtful.
And this is y'all working through it in real time is what we need to remember, listeners.
And then, then it led to her saying, let's talk on the phone tomorrow. And then I texted her the next day and I said, hey, what's up? No response. And then she blocked my number and blocked me on all social media.
Stop it. Okay.
And then
we all have feelings. We all have feelings.
I just said it is what it is. Like at the end of the day, like I thought that, that was not called for, but and then I had to like at the same time I have obviously my partner is just getting pissed because I'm obviously over emotional, so my partner went on Janelle's Instagram and cursed her out and
that's a good bae though. That's a good bae.
But he's a Scorpio, so he was like,
oh my god, I'm a Scorpio.
What he calls like he was calling her a WWE big back man bitch.
Oh my god,
he was like, you're a cum bucket, blah blah blah, like an STD vessel.
STD vessel.
So then Janelle unblocked my number and then she sent me this long like message of obviously, basically blaming me for what Mark did when I had no idea that he did it.
Gosh.
She was like basically saying that she was like, I don't even know how to explain it. She was like, obviously that's how you feel. I was gonna settle this with you after the new year. In my mind, I'm like, settle what?
Am I a resolution bitch? What is it?
Well, I was confused. I was like, what? I didn't even know we had beef. So then, all that happened, and I was just like, okay. And then, I was mad at Mark because I was like, you're making the situation worse. And like I was already stressed out.
He would curse me out low key if that were me too.
Probably.
Well, I kind of made me feel really bad, but then like I took a breather and I was like, you know what? I get it. You just care about me. You're trying to go from that. And I tried to be the bigger person. Janelle didn't block me on Instagram, so I sent her a long message apologizing for what Mark did. And I said, look, I hope that you can give me the common courtesy to at least like talk about how I feel because my feelings are not in alignment with what Mark said. Mm-hmm. And you have to understand like he's my partner and he's just being defensive. And it doesn't mean that I said anything, which first of all, I can't be accountable for how other people feel.
Well, and people say things that they don't necessarily mean when they're mad too. So Mark, he's upset, defending you. So maybe, I mean, I don't know. I don't know Mark. So I'm assuming Mark may have said things that he did not necessarily mean. So
I mean, I black out sometimes when I'm going in on a
yeah, you just say shit to like cut deep, right? Like you're like, fuck you, bitch. Like you said this, I'm saying this.
We just kind of moved on, and by moving on, I mean I'm still blocked, and I'm just
blocked and thriving, baby.
To me, I was just like, I don't know what was I felt like I was kind of gaslit, and then I was just kind of again, and then I was just kind of like, okay, but you know what? Let her live her life. I hope she is successful and abundant, and I hope that she one day learns that how do I say this in what I'm trying to say? I hope that she one day learns the real burdens that come with fame, with spotlight, when how it really is. Because I think that when I had my first few years and stuff being in the public figure, being in the public eye, I think I was heavily criticized for being so sharp and direct. And especially like in that follow me video. What was it? You were like he didn't want his boyfriend to do drag. Absolutely not.
I said it. I said that. Yes, I did, listeners.
Jamal, we finna scrap right now. I'm kidding.
Oh shit. Oh
No.
shit.
What? No. All tea. I dated a drag queen for 5 years, and never again. I cannot date people who are in the same exact, like, trying to do the same dream that I'm trying to live, because one, it's competitive. Two, I don't have the patience for the mess. And three, like, it's a lot of attitude in one place. And like, you know, that's why I could not date another drag artist like ever again. Like,
yeah, it's a lot, because you know your drag queens, you think you're like, I'm the shit, like you're feeling yourself, and you know, and that's, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, that's part of the gig, you know. So when you get like 2, 3, you know, 5, however many people doing the same thing in the same space, there are going to be opinions.
Well, you know what was crazy too is that when it was funny, because a lot of people had a lot of comments about me not wanting Ty to do drag, but then it was kind of funny too, because I had pictures all over social media of me putting Ty in drag. So it was just like, you know, I think
which I knew about. See, I was just being messy, because most of the time people take my bait and then we snatch them on the pod.
Damn.
He's talking about me.
No, see, what had happened was Aja found me too quickly. The trolls are sleeping after the tweet was sent.
Girl, it's New Year's. Calm down.
Oh no, bro. Well, you know what it is? Like, sometimes I find people who have genuine questions and stuff, and like, you know, so I was like, okay, well, let's see what's popping off today. And I was like, this is a lengthy tweet. And I was like, okay. I was like, this is a lot. I should say something. I should say, hey, do you want to interview me? Because, I mean, you know me already.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was me being an asshole. But, you know, something, it turned out funny. And here we are. And
that's right.
We're having fun.
Time.
Yeah.
Which makes me happy, because that's just like the tone of our show. Like, we're very lighthearted and we'll throw shade, and somebody who listens to the show is probably like, what the hell is Jamal talking about in this tweet right now? But it's like, I have comments, and it's like, oh, she's going to say something on the podcast. But I particularly love your music because it's all a giant fuck you to everything that's kind of happening or has happened, kind of through your come up from, oh, that's Aja the drag queen, to now this is Aja the performer. And it's a fun and lighthearted way. And then there's other songs that are just like, I'm going to jab you, this is who I am, fuck what you say, I'm going to throw it back at you. And others are just carefree and upbeat. And I think that completely embodies what we have seen of you on the show. And I know you said that you weren't presenting as yourself, but I guess we've kind of, as fans from your day one on TV to here we are today, we feel like we've seen those pieces as fans.
You know, I feel like thank you.
Thank you.
Your music goes off. I was down here bopping doing dishes earlier.
Oh wait, before we get off, I'm gonna have to show y'all some stuff for my new album.
Well, I did want to ask you, because you got Crown coming, right?
Yeah, so you know, last year I became a priest in my spiritual faith, which is Lukumi. It's a branch of the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria. And Lukumi is kind of like the survivor practice that kind of survived after the Atlantic slave trade. And my biological father is a priest in the practice as well. And a lot of people don't know this, but I'm adopted. I met my biological parents last year.
Oh
wow. What was that like?
But
moving on.
It was right before COVID.
Yeah.
You know, my dad is very serious and very like forward, and my mom is like 16 going on like 40 going on 16. I just got a message from her. She's in rehab right now. Like, I was like, I don't even know what's going on. She was like, I didn't want to tell you I had a drug addiction. I was like, sis, like, I get it. I don't, but I get it. Like, I'm empathizing. So I was just like, you know what? I'm sympathizing, empathizing, all the thizing. So
I connect to that particularly because I've gotten into digging into my ancestry recently, the past couple years, I'll say. I made my parents take tests, DNA tests, and myself as well. And I'm primarily from Nigerian heritage and from the Congo.
Same.
And I fancy myself a spiritual witchy person, so I've been kind of diving into those practices. So I was very interested to see what that spirituality and practice look like for you, because I'm just now learning it, and I don't want to go any farther until I know exactly what tribe I came from. And
see, with Lukumi, since it's such a people in America call it Santeria, but that's kind of like the colonized term.
yes,
and because it has not people acquainted with, they call it the way of the saints, but there's no saints,
right.
so it's like, okay, but the way it works in West Africa is each city had its own orisha that they would sort of like initiate in that city. And like in Osogbo town, you have in Osogbo you would have Oshun. And like that's where people will get crowned Oshun. But then like in Oyo, you might get crowned Shango. And in different places. Now, when all those people came to Cuba, Brazil, like the Caribbean, what happened was that they were getting together and they were being like, we have to do this out of survival. We have to let this last. And the birth of Lukumi was the form was done by one of our ancestors. Her name is Efushe. That was her name in the practice. And it's in the book Santeria Enthroned. And it talks about all the slave trade and how it happened. She went to Cuba and she was crowned a Chosi, and she didn't know anything about how to initiate people. But she got all these priests and priestesses together after they basically used divination to buy their freedom. They were divining the white men, and then the price was the freedom. And they created these houses that people called cabildos, and they started forming a way to initiate people. But you would get crowned one orisha, but you would receive all the orisha that from all the different cities. And that tradition survived. In the 50s, a queer Black man named Alfred Davis, his priest name was Omitoke. He was a priest of Yemaya, and he went to Cuba and he got crowned and brought it back to New York, where he spread it into the African American community in New York, kind of creating a place where Black Americans could feel connected to their roots. Because at first, a lot of like rich Cuban white ladies were getting crowned because they were like, oh, this is like, this is the moment. And
this is trendy.
No.
But, Alfred Davis really did a big thing by bringing it to New York and bringing it to the African American community, thus kind of creating the decolonization of the practice, where they started to detach the saint imagery from it. But I've been involved with the practice since I was a child.
That was my follow-up question. Have you kind of grew up with it or discovered it recently?
I grew up a medium. I saw things, always heard things. By the age of 10, I was divining using cards, shells, water, and looking at someone. And, I had these weird tendencies. Like if somebody left a cigar around, I would start smoking the cigar and then start like telling people shit. And people were like, what the fuck is going on? And at the age of 14, 15, I got really sick. And in the middle of the school year, it was like October, my godmother, she was my babysitter. She was a priest in Palo Mayombe, which is a Congo practice. And she was a priest in Lukumi for about 40 years at the time. And she was a priestess of Yemaya. She took me to she had a house in Puerto Rico, and she took me there. And she was this like crazy Afro-Cuban lady, like wild.
I
like,
love that.
Always had the turban, literally with skin and bones, just draped.
Oh my gosh.
And
draped proper. Just
draped. And she took me there, and she was like, we're going to have to initiate. Yes, she was like, we're going to have to initiate you into Palo Mayombe because you're going to die. And I was like, what? And, I was feeling like shit for a while. I really thought I was going crazy, and they initiated me, and I said, like, within a week, I felt normal. And I was like, what the fuck? And it's when I started to get really spiritual, because then when I got to New York, my divining and things that I would see, my dreams, everything got very elaborate. And I was like, I thought I was crazy. I was like, there's no way. And it started off with little things. I started paying for my drag with doing readings.
Oh my gosh.
I worked at a little Botanica up the block from my house. I walked in and I didn't have any money and I wanted to get a reading. And I told the guy, I said, you read me and I'll read you. And he was like laughing at me like I was a joke. And he gave me this half-ass reading that was shit, honestly. And when I started reading him, he was like, what the fuck?
He was like, damn.
So I stood with him for a few years. And then when I started doing drag, I kind of left it behind. And then I still did all my spiritual stuff. At the time I had in Lukumi, we have 3 steps of initiation. We have alekes, which is you receive these beaded necklaces. We have warriors, which you receive a set of orisha, and then you have the crowning, which is like the whole shabam. And at the time, I had aleke. I received the lekes before I auditioned for Drag Race, and I went to Puerto Rico to my godmother's house. It was me and former drag artist Momo Shade. We went to Puerto Rico and we both received the lekes. And that year I got on Drag Race. And I told my godmother, I said, I don't know how I'm gonna get on the show. I was like, I have no money, I have nothing. And she said, she woke up the next day, she said, I had a dream. She said, bring me the names of everyone involved. And I said, okay. And I gave them to her. And then she said, I looked up all the casting and everything. I was like, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know what she did. For all I know, she could have done some pretty or something. But
yeah. Within RuPaul a lengthy email.
like two months later, I got my first call and then I got on the show. So, wow. You know, I felt bad because I never told her that I got on the show, because we kind of grew into this really awkward part of our relationship where everything became like, sort of like, if you became successful and she helped you, it was almost like, well,
like you owe me something. Yeah.
And I didn't like that, so I never told her, but I would do little acts of kindness. Like she got robbed at gunpoint and she had a necklace for Saint Lazarus, and I knew she had a big connection with him because her father in Lukumi was Obaluaye, who syncretized with Saint Lazarus in Catholicism. So I went and I got her like a nice, like 24 karat gold Saint Lazarus. And I was like, you know, I heard what happened. Like, here you go. Like, I want to give this to you. And, you know, that day something was weird. I don't know what was going on, but she went back to Puerto Rico and she came back. And this was in 2018 summer. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I have all my orisha in my backpack. And I said, what? She was like, I'm coming back. She's like, I'm coming to New York and I'm never coming back to Puerto Rico.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, I know once I pass the water, she's like, I know I'm not coming back. And I was a few months later, I was on tour. I was in Switzerland. And I remember I was having a really weird week. My mom gave me this little like doll. And like when I had put it away, I was running late for my flight, and I remember I was with Ty at the time, and we got into this huge argument. He's like, "You're always fucking late for your flights." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!" I had this apparition of this really big albino woman in front of me.
Oh wow!
And I really couldn't tell where it was coming from, but it was like we were like running out, and I felt like I froze. I felt like fucking time froze, and I thought. But I knew that this was like a spirit or something. And like, she looked at me in my face and she grabbed my hand and I felt it. And it sent chills up my arms, like to my hairs. And that's how I knew that something was weird. And she was like, not today, but tomorrow. She's like, your life is going to change.
Oh my God.
And I said, so I didn't think of it. And I have the doll in my living room still. I went, and you know, it's crazy. The doll my mom gave me was an albino doll, by the way.
Oh,
So I flew to Switzerland, and the next day was April 1st. Was it April 1st? No, it was October 1st. It was October 1st, and I was gonna do a show there, and I was chilling on the roof, and I started to get this anxiety attack, and I didn't know where it was coming from. So I started to walk away, and the promoter saw me. He was like in the penthouse suite. He's like, "Hey, do you want to come pop this bottle of champagne?" So I go to his room, and then I get a call from Momo. And Momo goes, hey, so did you hear about what happened to Iya? In our practice, we call our godmothers Iyas or Iyatobis. So she was like, you know what happened to Iya? And I was like, no. And she was like, she died last night.
Oh my goodness.
And when I tell you, my heart dropped. I told the promoter, I was like, I'll be right back. And then I went to my room and Ty was there. And I remember I just walked in and I didn't know what to say. So like, he just looked at me and like, I'm one of those people that if something's wrong, like, you know. So he just goes, what's wrong? And I just broke down.
Oh my gosh. She came to you. She was sending you a message.
Yeah, and it was crazy because, you know, I had a special connection with her because when I had went to do that whole Palo thing in Puerto Rico, I was going through a lot at the time. And like, you know, I was really discovering myself, my whole identity. And she came into the room and I had just gotten into this whole like drama with people back at home. Mind you, meanwhile, I'm supposed to be dying. And you know, she told me, she was like, I hope you know that I know how you feel. She was like, I see that you feel alone and you feel like nobody listens to you. All right, I'm getting emotional. And she looked at me in my face and she looked at me in the eyes and she was like, you know, I feel that way too. And she was like, I hope you know that you have a friend in me. And it was the first time I ever felt in my life like someone understood like who I was as a person. And I just broke down. Like I remember, you know, doing that. But when she passed, it was really, I felt like it was a calling because in this practice, there's so much scammery, shenanigans, and bullshit that you never know who's real and who's not. Yeah. So, you know, me and Momo went on the lookout for new godparents. And then I felt like at that moment I had to really embrace my spirituality and move forward because I didn't want to get lost without that. And I felt like I wanted to do it in honor of her. So in 2019, I found a new Ile, a new spiritual house, and they were very queer centric, very mixed race. Everyone was from everywhere, and I went up to my new godparent literally like 2 months after knowing him, and we were talking about this because I went to see him earlier, and I said, you know, I said, I want to get crowned. And he just looked at me and he was like, okay. And, you know, it's a big responsibility. You have to wear like white for a year and 7 days. You have to abstain from alcohol, vices, no clubs, no nothing. You know, with my profession, that's hard. Like, it's a lot of stuff. Yeah. And, you know, I did it. And I got marked as a child of Oshun. I'm a priest of Oshun, who is supposed to be the deity of femininity. People often associate her with love, sex, and everything. But Oshun is also a witch, a warrior, and she's also very destructive. So, you know, people like to hide that part out. Right. But yeah, I did my whole year through the quarantine. I got out of my year in white in November. And, you know, I feel more uplifted than I ever have. And I feel like after having such a weird suicidal year of bullshit shenanigans, like being dragged by the Drag Race fan base, you know, taking a spiritual, like not vacation, because
sabbatical,
you know, doing something to uplift my own vibration made me feel very, very, very enlightened. And also the best part of, you know, being crowned your Orisha too is you receive a life reading. You get something we call an Ita, and they write it in a book, and you get all these sequences of Oduns and letters that drop, and they talk about your life. And in those Oduns, they spoke about everything. They spoke about me meeting my biological parents before I did. It spoke about how I needed to continue going the way I wanted to go with my career, no matter what nobody said, because people were going to be against me. It spoke about how it spoke about everything. Everything that's happening even to this day is in my Ita. I pulled out my book. I was with my godmother the other day, and I pulled out my book, and we had just took an edible. So, you know, we were like, and, we were reading it, and I was like, bitch. And she looked at me and she said, this is exactly what's happening right now. And I said, Yep.
Yup.
So
I love that.
So
I'm going to keep
cool.
doing my studies because I definitely want to know more about my people. But when I was doing my little research, my deeper research on Aja, I was like, oh, family.
I wonder, is this going to translate into some of the music on your new album, Crown? This
Mm.
Oh,
new
bitch,
found wisdom?
that was how we even started this whole conversation about sis, I got emotional, so I went on. But
It's okay. No worries.
during the process, I wrote the album Crown, which I felt like all my life I was in search of this crown. I felt like I was in search of this higher meaning, and when I speak about crown, it's not just an allude or it's not just an homage to my old drag or just my spirituality. It's everything. It's me standing tall. And what's different about this project is that it's extremely vulnerable. It's not just a rap album. It's soul. It's very much me saying this is who I am. And what I did was I've been working on this for a year and a half, 2 years almost. I had people from my practice come into the studio and they played a full drumming to 10 different Orisha in the order they would play for Oshun. We call it an Oro when they play song. And I sent those 10 tracks to 10 different producers who turned them into beats, interludes, and everything. And they created, this fucking crazy just project. And
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this.
I know, me too. I'm like ready for it now.
Well,
Do you
knowing
have
the
an idea?
backstory too, like just to it just sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
well, it's
Yeah,
very,
when it comes.
I was listening to it. I was like, it's like when you hear it's meant to be heard from front to back because it's one whole song basically broken down into 10 songs and 10 interludes. I speak about me not knowing what roads to take. I talk about, my tough relationship with being with fame. In the song called Tough Love. It's literally like, I had a feature on the track. His name is Gus. And he's a producer, but he's also I like his voice, and I was like, I need like a nice, strong little like whoosh there.
Yeah.
And in his bridge that he wrote himself, he quote unquote says, "I don't want no tough love. If it's wait, I don't want to. If it really ain't love." And he talks about funny. It's like funny how I don't ask, but you still criticize me, and then you say it's all love. And I was like, oof, like that just like resonates with me. I have another song on there called White Couture, and it's about me leaving for my year to dress. I was dressed in white for a fucking year. I don't ever want to see white clothing again.
I need a lookbook because how did you do that? I'd be in a toga. You might get a cute legging and a shoe, a sandal, maybe.
So, but see, we can't wear sandals for the first 3 months. It's high collar, long sleeve. You're purifying yourself, so it's very modest.
Got it.
No shorts for the whole year. After 3 months, you can cut. And for the first 3 months, no mirror, no TV, no music, no nothing. Like it's very
wow.
Dead.
Wow.
It's to strip you from vanity and ego and to strip you from the idea. In Africa, in the traditional Yoruba and in Isheshe, they don't have what we call the Iyaborahe, which is the 1 year in white. But in all the diasporas, they do have it because it's supposed to embody slavery. These people went through a lot of hardships to preserve this practice, and you have to have a taste of what it is to be purified and you're making self-sacrifice.
Okay.
So, another thing, you sacrifice your hair, that's a big thing too. Like, and women do it too. Part of your crowning is they shave your head, and like, there's a lot of stuff that I can't say, but
of course,
things get done, and it is what it is. Like, but I'll say this. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, not just for culture, but also for, a lot of people who I know a lot of people who were atheists who walked into this like experience with me, and there's a lot of people that walked out like, I can't believe this happened. They're like, I've never seen a religion that I believed in before. And I'm like, it was because in Lukumi, we have proof. Like, Orisha manifest. They possess the bodies of humans and they talk to you about things nobody knows. And that freaks people out also.
Yeah, totally.
I can see that.
But I think Black spirituality is so powerful. I think that's why it's always been oppressed, and I think that's why it's always been like shoved in the corner. I mean, what we have in this day and age is not even real Christianity. It's like white Christianity. It's patriarchal Christianity. Like, it's just like,
it's like an excuse for people to oppress people, really, at this point. It's like, it's more of a tool of oppression.
No, absolutely. And I spent my whole year in white too, just reflecting. I learned how to fucking bead and do shit. Like, I beaded a bunch of paraphernalia, just like, it's like, what are you doing on Saturday? Oh, I'm beating a machete. Like, yes. Like, oh, I'm beating a brass bell. This is how I'm spending my. So even if the quarantine wasn't happening, like, I would have still had to do this. And, it made quarantine made it more weird. And it was also hard being a public figure and doing this, because another thing too is a big taboo is you're not supposed to be on camera. But I had to preserve my following. And I got a lot of backlash from elders in my community who were like, oh, so we're just breaking the rules now. And I'm like, sis, you know what the tea is, okay?
Right. This is
fucking
these are my coins.
Well, yeah, I was like, Oshun knows damn well how I was able to afford this Ocha.
Exactly.
So she knows how I'm going to continue to keep going on. Because another thing, initiation is not cheap. Initiation in the States right now ranges between, like, depending on what Orisha you have, because there's different qualifications. I've heard of things being between maybe 10 and 25,000.
Oh,
so,
wow.
My initiation was 12,500, and that's really standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so, go ahead.
I was just to say, it's sort of like, I mean, people probably be like, I can see people saying like, oh, you're paying to do this, but it's more like, it's kind of like more like paying tribute to the culture, right?
No, because the process is to literally consecrate your body in ways that make it a closed practice. It's, a lot of these practices are not open. It's not like,
right.
Some people are very delusional. They think, well, I bought this statue of Oshun, so I can light candles and put a pumpkin here. And oh my God, I'm doing witchcraft. And I'm like, sweaty, that's not Oshun. That's a resin statue. You couldn't even get the good one.
See, I'm not even deep in it, and that bothers me. Like, I've done enough research just to be like, oh my gosh, sis, calm down with your October looks over there.
October looks back.
Girl.
It's beautiful. It's macabre sometimes, but you want to know something? It is definitely an experience. I think that, like, doing this was one of the best things that I ever did for myself, and it also made me a lot more patient and level-headed, because that 1 year in white, if I didn't have that, bitch, the other day when I saw that 10 minutes, I would have went the fuck off. I would have been like, but that's also why I dealt with that situation. So I feel like at this point in my life, I have bigger and better things to do. And, one of the big things that I was told in my Ita is people will do things for a reaction out of you. Do not break character, because that's how people want to see you fall. And I've done a lot of that in the past. So, I posted a tweet yesterday, and I said it because people were messaging me nasty shit. I said, you can try as hard as you want. You'll never see my crown fall.
I saw that. Yep.
Are you and Candy on good terms now? Like, so you said you were talk about it.
Well, I'm blocked, so I don't know.
I see.
we're giving it time to rest.
To be honest with you, I feel like I on my end, I've done nothing but be a good friend, and I feel like I've been a good support, and I'm very confident in that. I don't feel the least bit phased. I feel more so like, I just wanted to make things good. So, whatever happens in the future happens. Whatever's meant to happen will happen.
Yeah.
And I just hope that one day, we can all wake up and just be like, well, that was that.
Move past it, sort of thing.
I think what we're seeing with you, Aja, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is this is just very new for one party. And then we've got somebody who's been through it. And I'm not saying, oh, you had to walk a mile in my shoes, but emotional intelligence and awareness is a thing. And you've kind of had that opportunity to understand yourself. So by extension, you understand others better, not to mention being part of a unique situation like Drag Race or whatever else you might have in common. And you just know when and where to respond.
I have never made, like, maybe there's, with the exception of 5 people, I've never met a friend who I didn't have to this extent of some sort of situation with. Mm-hmm. I think it just happens. I think that it's just a natural course of a relationship.
Yeah.
I also feel like sometimes you walk into people's life to serve a purpose and then you leave. I feel like it could be so many things. And, I don't really have much to say about it because I feel like people are gonna think what they want to think. People have messaged me what they want to message me, and I'm not responding to any of it. People are like, "Oh, you're jealous. You're this." I mean, if you have eyes, that. Like,
yes.
My thing is like, what, and also like people are like, "Oh, you're mad because she's shining," and I'm like, "And when did I stop?"
Right.
Bitch, I've been shining since the moment that I fucking walked out the pussy. So I don't know
yes.
that line on Drag Race when Candy said, either you have it or you don't. You're either born a star or not, and I'm a star. She knows that because I said that too.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, you're a star. You're a star. And I said, the same way I know that I'm a star. Let me tell you something. I don't need drag. I don't need nothing. I could walk into a place and demand everybody's attention. Why? Because I'm me. And because people will always want to hear what I have to say. You could love me or hate me, but you're tuned in.
Yeah, it's like you're here.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, people, my response to everything was, you saw Pose and you liked the lecture, but you don't like me. You like to compare me to Crystal LaBeija, but then you don't like what I say. Go fuck yourself. If you can't take it, then don't tune in. People love to obsess over Black ballroom culture, but can't handle how it really gets. And my thing is, if I want to get upset, let me get upset. They're like, oh, it's light shade. Well, you know what I do with light shade? I engulf it into complete darkness. So
thank you. I'll drown your ass if you push me.
So, I love that a lot of people just had a lot of opinions. And like, that's why I was like, let me not make any public statements. And even now, like, I'm just kind of saying what happened. I don't really have a public statement because, girl, you know as much as I know.
Yeah. So does this mean that you'll may have a dark shadow over season 13? Or I mean, just like, are you not gonna watch, or is it weird for you now?
Well, I to be honest with you, I haven't really been watching Drag Race that much for the last few years. Not for a personal reason. I just feel like it hasn't been that interesting. I kind of watch more for the girls because I really love to support the artists. I feel like they're all beautiful and amazing. And I feel like this season is no different. I feel like it's exceptional. I probably will tune in for like the lip syncs and the runways. But that's about it, because I feel like if I watch the whole episode, I get mad. I get my own opinions. I'm like, oh, this person should have won that. This person should have won that. And I've also played the game, so I know what it is to be there. And I know what it is to be waiting there. And then they go, you're the winner of a challenge. And to go. And then to see the television version and go, oh. I know what it is to do that. Not to say that it's different, but like I feel like, there's times where I would judge things differently. But then again, that's why it's all open to opinion. You know, they're working a TV show. It's successful, obviously. There's a franchise around the world, and they're getting their Emmys and their whatever else they get.
Things.
There are things. So, I don't want to be a hater on the show. I had a producer reach out. I had a producer block me on everything, and then when I texted them, I was like, yo, what's
What is
good?
that?
And they were like, you were trash talking the show on social media. I was like,
Oh
I
my
never did
gosh.
that, but okay. Like, you know what? For me, it's just like that type of gaslighting behavior. Here's the thing. People forget that I have a metaphoric cabinet that I have every receipt ever. I can give you fucking things.
We
I'm like,
love an invoice. We love a receipt. We love.
I'm like, you
facts.
bitches like elephants because I have the memory of one. I do not forget. Like girl, and that's the thing is like, I think people say and do shit sometimes, and I'm like, oh, you really didn't think that I was gonna have this shit together. You know, I've also thought about like, you know, what if like this goes even more south, and I really plan not to do nothing. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in my own lane.
I think you've got the correct approach. Let other people kind of learn on their own. You've had to. If they're not ready to hear what you're saying, then they'll just hear it on their own time.
Yeah, and I feel like you're doing the right thing too, like just trying to have a conversation with her personally. Like there's no need for you to like go out and like make a statement, like an iOS press release type thing. Like
no.
it's just like, okay, I'm going to
God.
like have the conversation with my friend, and that's really all that matters,
And
right?
it's
Like
none of your business.
who cares about
trolls.
what the fan base or everyone on the internet thinks? It's more about your relationship with that person, and did you do anything wrong?
You know, and even then, you know, like it's also like people behind the scenes know what's up. So people can hear whatever they want to hear, but people behind the scenes know what's up. When I spoke to my mom about the situation, my mom was like really bothered, and she was like, really? You know, my mom is also someone who was there for Candace a lot, you know, and my mom was like really disappointed about how everything went down. But I mean, like I said, like, you know, if we're meant to be friends, we'll be friends. If not, it is what it is. And you know, it would be unfortunate because I did value them as a friend, and I really did have the best for them like in mind. I never said anything to this person without considering their feelings or anything. I really did only push them to be the best person they could be. You know, sometimes people think that I'm trying to mold them into a mini me, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to mold you into the best you can be. You want to know something? Life sucks. Life is hard. People are disgusting. People will backstab you. People will do the worst shit to you
without blinking.
You know, and I want you to be prepared for when you step out into the world and people start treating you like shit. Because, you know, newsflash, you know, guess what? Now you're honey and everyone's a bunch of fucking flies. So guess what? And this is something I lived through multiple times.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that you know, I never had a problem sharing my platform with my friends or doing anything. And people have asked me in the last few days, do you regret that? No, I don't. You know why? Because there's a time and place for everything, and sometimes things just happen for a reason.
Yep.
And if I can be the help that someone needed at one moment, it's fine. I'm not one of those people who's like, well, fuck you, bitch, and fuck everything I did for you.
Burn it, bitch.
Because I can't go back in time.
Yeah.
You know, but all I can do is just say, you know what? I hope you do well. And
maybe Candy comes back after the season, you know, once she goes through the experience that you went through, and she goes, oh, clicks now it you know, now it makes sense, and then maybe you can be friends again. But like you said, it's people the people's life, they come and go, they interweave with each other. Maybe Candy comes back, but it sounds like you're in a good place right now.
Oh, so that's the thing. It's like, for me, you know, a constant narrative about Aja is I'm so bothered all the time. I'm always in a mood. I'm always like, oh, people have left to be like, I need to slog off social media. I should see a therapist. I need
the
this.
list goes on.
Oh my God. I'm just like, girl, I'm at home playing Pokemon and masturbating. I have I'm just like, I'm drinking, and I'm like, you know, like watching movies with my man, and we're just like, you know,
Carefree.
taking edibles and talking
Minding
shit.
our
Like,
own fucking business. Minding our business.
and another one too is like bitches just love to be like, if I even put a wig on, people are like, oh, she was hungry. Like that kind of shade, like, oh. And I'm like, you want to know something? Let me tell you something.
I do that with my raps too.
It's just like, my love, I have multiple sources of revenue. I am a business.
Mm-hmm.
I can afford to take this year off.
Amen.
And I said this in my album. I said this in a line in a song. I said, people be worried about me, but don't even have food on their plate. I'm like, how the fuck you worried about my plate, but you ain't even served yourself yet?
Exactly.
Bitch, get the fuck off my plate.
Thank you. Oh.
No, it's that one. And I said, another one I said was, I dropped a lot of worry about me lines. I said, another one I said was, worry about me, but you need to get a job. Like, my thing is like, some of these bitches are like, how you 40 unemployed and stuck up drag queens asses
on Twitter?
Oh my
like,
God.
I'm talking about the one. I'm like, if you're 45 and your main concern is yes, Team Mama Hunty, Dip Debstrop, then you honestly should go see a doctor.
Oh, no. Yeah, we have some things to talk about you first before we get to me.
Oh, wait. Okay, see, this is how you know I'm self-centered, because you said that and I was like, oh, I'm ready to talk about me.
Oh, let's fight.
I'm telling you, like, I don't know you, but I feel like in pieces and just a different realm, I've kind of experienced it just on the corporate level. Just, oh, here he goes. He's got something to say. There goes that queen again. But you want me in all the rooms so you can take all of what I have to say and then leave me out of it. That's kind of been my experience.
Oh, yes. Hold on.
Can I ask something about All Stars 3? So, like, what was it like being like the new kid on the block, kind of? Because you were kind of the newest season, I guess season 9 on All Stars 3, and like you were kind of the new queen, and everyone else had kind of been around for a while. So, like, what was that like for you?
Like anything, I kind of didn't care. I was like, when I went on All Stars, I was like, I ain't winning, and I just went in. I was like, I ain't winning. I was like, I ain't winning, but I'm still gonna spend all this money, and I'm gonna do all this shit, and I'm gonna make sure that I bring the most perfect package, because if I don't win, then they look bad. And I mean, that's what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
So I was like, I went and I did. Here's the thing. Also, is like I feel like people have this like idea of me. When I used to do drag, people had this idea of me as a performer. And that was another reason that I wasn't really having fun doing drag anymore, was when everyone had an opinion of the performer I was like, back at home, like I was kind of known for being like, yes, high energy, but like my thing was like sex. So like when people were like, death drop, I was like,
what?
Right?
Like, what's happening?
I was like, that was never like a big part of my performances. For me, it was always about like, I want to be a hoe. Like, I want to just be, bitch. I want to be.
Hell yeah.
I want to be like a little Thotty McTottenbot. Like,
yeah.
And then, but I mean, season 9 was very, very, very like interesting on so many levels. And my favorite was people like, oh, there you go. You see, Aja went on there thinking she was hot shit. And I was like, I never thought I was.
I always want to talk shit about a confident person.
No, let me tell you something. Bitch, I was not confident. I went on there thinking, holy shit, I'm poor. I'm broke. I was like, I have to see what I could do. You want to know something? And then it was funny because every piece of clothing that someone let me borrow made the first episode. Like, oh, look at me in this and look at me in this. I'm like, yeah, girl, that was because they felt bad for me. So they were like, hey, do you want to borrow anything? Because like, and then it's just like, also I was having like a bad makeup year, which is even worse. And this goes with me as an artist as well. I'm a little too dynamic where I feel like I have to change up really quick every year. For me, it's like every year, it's like I need to do something new. And for me with drag makeup, it was like that. And like I think I had a good mug before, like especially when I auditioned for the show. My audition mug was con. And then I don't know, it got hot in New York, and then I stopped covering my eyebrows for the summer. But then I was doing all these big features, so then I went on Drag Race looking like a fucking praying mantis. And I was like, what are you doing? And then not to mention they had the horrible purple lighting. And on people of color, purple lighting is not it because it blocks out all the red tones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so like a lot of people thought that I was heavily contoured with like the Princess Disaster look, but like I was like just heavily blushed. And I was like, on TV, it looks like I did some like, I mean, the lips were unacceptable. I'll give it that. But also the point was that she was supposed to be a disaster. I remember I said that, and Michelle goes, she was like, "You look like Janice from the Muppets," and I was like, "Thank you." And she was like, "No, it's not a compliment." And then she was like, "Look at everyone, and then look at you." I was like,
Damn. We always give Michelle shit. We're like, oh, who's gonna be Michelle this season?
She, you know, that I don't think that aired on television, but you know, she remembered, and I did the Work the World tour with her afterwards because for some reason Boss Events thought I was in the top 3, like everyone else did. And then she saw me. I was on the tour with her. We were in rehearsals, and she apologized. She was like, "I'm sorry,"
good.
like. And I was like, "Oh wow!" And I liked her for like that one day. I was like, "You're cool."
Yeah.
No, I do like Michelle. I appreciate her. She's really cool. There was a moment in All Stars where the day I got eliminated, and RuPaul honestly went off on me for whatever reason. And at some point, I could see Michelle go, and I was like, I knew this wasn't her fault. But.
I have a question for you, and you can tell me this is a deep topic. This might be too personal, but you know, you were on All Stars 3, and we all 3 of us love Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you would want to like maybe share like something we haven't seen on TV, just like, you know, some little thing that you really stick out in your mind about Chi-Chi.
Oh
my God, Chi-Chi was like my favorite person when we were filming. Like. Literally, like I spent all the time with her, and like, all right, I'm gonna get really emotional. Like we would like go outside, and we would like, I was trying to get her to quit smoking cigarettes, but she was making me smoke cigarettes. And I remember I was like having really bad anxiety when we were there, and like I don't know, just talking to her, we would always just like kind of like comfort each other because I know I always seem like I'm like this out loud person, but like I'm really socially awkward. Like when it comes down to talking about deep stuff and getting close to people, I'm like, and I don't know, she just always made me feel so comfortable, and we would get ready together all the time, and we would always talk. And like I remember there was this moment where they were like, Chi-Chi, we feel like we're not seeing you. And I remember I took her outside, and I was like, listen, bitch. I was like, that's bullshit. I was like, that is bullshit. I was like, you haven't changed. You've been acting great this whole time. I said, don't fall for that bullshit. And I remember like, she was like, you really think so? And I was like, yeah. And I don't know. She just, she was always like one of the real people. Like she was always like, so real and so just so kind for no reason. I remember when she got eliminated, they held us, they held me, and they lied to me and told me they were gonna give me my phone, and they didn't for the weekend until we came back for the Kitty Girls bullshit. And Chi-Chi flew all the way back to Shreveport for 2 days because she missed her cats.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought it was the cutest thing ever. I was like, really? I was like, it was just so funny. But I really do miss her. And like I feel like I wish I would have spoken to her more after the show. Me and her kept in communication here and there. Yeah. And I did a show in Shreveport. And when I went, you know, I was so happy to see her. But like I knew she was getting sick. And you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but a few weeks before she passed, I always have this one specific dream every time someone I know dies, and it's always a dream about me and my teeth falling out. And all my teeth started falling out in the dream, and I was like, what the fuck? Oh my God. And then when I woke up, for some reason, I was in a haze, and I thought, I was like, I should check up on Chi Chi. And I don't know why that thought came to me. So that day, let me see, I have the message here. I had messaged her on Instagram, and I was like, hey, just checking up on you, trying to see like how you're doing. Here, I said, I love you so much, and I hope you're doing well. I miss you, and I hope everything is gonna be good. And then I think it was like a few days later, she was in the hospital, and then she passed. And once she was in the hospital, I knew, like, I just knew, and I didn't want to say anything because, you don't want to jinx it. So I was like, I just knew. I saw the video of her like on the tubes and stuff, and I said, I told my partner, I was like, I think it's gonna happen.
Damn.
And then she died, and I was like, I felt like shit because I was just like, she really was one of the nicer, great ones.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that anyone deserves death. It's just like, it just sucks that, really the nice ones go so quick.
Yeah. And that was a really emotional day for us, I think. I just really felt her passing kind of like a lot because like you said, Chi Chi is just so, like, everyone loves Chi Chi, great personality, she can do like anything really. You just feel the kindness coming from her, like we don't even, it's like we don't know her personally, but you can feel it, like her spirit coming through the TV. So when she passed, it was just like such an emotional thing for I was like, I got to get off Twitter because everyone's posting their tributes to her. And and I was just like, just seeing her face just like again and again and again, it was like really hard that day.
Oh, one thing too was that it was very much I had this thing with her where I was always like, you're enough. And she always had this like idea, like, where she was like, oh, like, I don't have the money to do these costumes, like I don't have this and that. And I remember we were doing the floral runway, and we were in the room, and she was in such a good mood, and I was like, are you okay? Because ain't nothing happy about filming that bullshit. So I was like, are you good? And she said, girl, I know I'm going home. And I was like, why you say that? She was like, look, I came here too soon. I don't have the things that you guys have. She was like, I don't have the costumes, the makeup, the this. I was like, but Chi-Chi's not about that. I said, girl, I said, no cap. Like, this is a reality TV show.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who fucking has talent. Just take with the time that they allow you. Because at the end of the day, the writers are who are in charge of our time, not us. And no shade, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We could influence that by doing things here and there, but all we can do is make the best out of what we get. And she was like, yeah, but girl, and I said, girl. And she was like, she was hot gluing them. She made that costume herself. She was like hot gluing the little flowers. And she was like, sometimes I just feel like it's not enough. And, after that day, I remember like I spoke ferociously on every interview that when I was still doing like Drag Race centered interviews, I spoke a lot about, how there is a lot of classism in the fan base because a lot of people just see the final product and a lot of viewers think, oh, the queens came up with that, they made that, oh, she's so talented. No, a lot of people buy shit, and do shit, and that and then there's queens who are like Chi-Chi who put her every last ambition and soul into making something that she thought was just cheap. And I think that is what made it so beautiful, is that she put her all into it. But, with so much materialism and everything, people don't see that.
Yeah. We talk about that on the show, that we've lost the spirit of drag and where it came from. It's not about who can buy the fiercest outfit. Like, people would sacrifice their meals or their lights being turned off to go and turn out these performances in the ballroom to uplift the community and, you know, make us feel good. It's not about who can afford these designers who see the Instagram posts and that's all they're worried about. Oh, make sure you tag me.
Literally, it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like it was like in the morning. This was every day. I was at the fabric store, and then I was running late for the gig, like having a fucking anxiety attack. My sewing machine was breaking down. The costume was like half done. And then I'm sitting there like trying to glue plastic stones because I can't afford glass ones. I look crazy, but like I tried all day, tried so hard to make this impression that nobody's gonna remember. But like that's really what it was. And you know, after a certain point in Drag Race, like, you know, I in my season, I really thought in my season, you know, it was funny because Thorchi came back and Thorchi was like, girl, it's a TV show. It's not a drag competition. And then I thought to myself, I said, you know what? You know, when I go on the show, I have to think that way. And I walked in, my dumbass, like, oh, like, you know, it's about what we do and how we do it. You know, next thing you know, it's just like, oh, okay. You know, I used to get offended. I used to feel like shit because I didn't have, like, if I didn't have, oh, I don't naturally look feminine like that, so I can't put on makeup the way you do. I have to actually reconstruct my face, so I'm more talented because you do less work. That's how I used to think. I used to think the more work you put in, the better you were at doing drag, and then I realized that no, it's all consumership. It's all, you know, it's all like, you know, what is by this, you know.
Sorry, not to cut you off. I was saying that is one thing about like all-star seasons I feel like we kind of miss is that seems like all-stars a lot of times it comes down to like who is coming into all-stars and just buying like the most expensive like shit ever and trying to just like pull it off, like whereas I don't know, like I really like the new cast seasons because it's like more, it comes off to me like more authentic, like if they're designing their own things or they don't really know what to buy going in or whatever. So I don't know, sometimes the all-stars just can be too much
for me. Well, that's another reason why I was like, if you know, after All Stars, I was like, girl, they can ask me to come on every season. I'm saying no. I'm saying no every single time. Why? Because I know, again, then goes back to the I know what I want to do syndrome. After I came off of All Stars already, I was like, I don't want to be a comedian. I don't want to be, you know, an improv artist. I don't want to get on stage and be like, oh my God, like that's not me. And like, you know, the reason why I went in the path of music was because it's something I have a passion for. And, you know, I feel like that, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like my passion is not drag. I guess it's just something that I can't really explain. I feel like
you've evolved kind of past it, and that's not to say it in a derogatory way. It's just like we were saying about people coming in and out of your lives. Drag is just kind of, it's a part of your life, but it's not currently part of it. It was a part of you.
I view myself almost as someone like I guess like Bowie or Prince, like how they would see themselves, like someone who's just like, fuck social construct of gender, but I'm me and this is what I do, and like people are gonna have opinions and it is what it is.
Yeah,
like, I love it.
They also switch. They have phases in their careers and stuff like that too. So that really does like kind of track with what you're doing, because you know you did Drag Race, you did app music and all that stuff, and you just like, I really love music. That's what you want to do, like. So I mean, and that doesn't mean you're not like Aja still, of course. Like Aja's just what you're looking at, but like who you really are is like really comes through in your music, I think, and you can really tell that you're passionate about it.
You know, I feel like I'm just me. You know, it's just me. Like, I don't think I would do a good job at giving anything else, and I think that's why I was like, I have to just kind of like do me, because if I don't do me, who the fuck else is?
That's right.
That's an open-ended question.
always do you, because this is the energy we promote on the show. It's so hard to not kind of acknowledge those demons or listen to those voices sometimes, but you are an example of someone who can kind of work through that, and they're still growing through that. People don't understand you're always growing and kind of on your path, and you run into trouble when you're trying to stay at one point. And it's like, well, no, it's not compatible anymore. It's time to evolve.
Absolutely. And that's very true. You know, and again, too, a lot of people make everything about numbers and quantity, but like for me, it's really about the quality of my fandom. I feel like my fandom it literally shows no mercy at showing up to every little thing. Like if I need my fans to do something and my followers, they do it. And that's why like I'm not worried that, you know, I don't have 2,000 people showing up in my live. I don't care about that. For me, it's more about, you know, the people who come are the people who always show up. And that loyalty is important. And I feel like you want to know something. I feel like a lot of people have tried to defame me. And I feel like a lot of people are going to continue to try to defame me. But I feel like what people don't understand is that you can't play me.
Tell him again. Get snaps on the art.
I feel like, you know, if you try to play me, you only play yourself. Like,
thank you.
Yes.
You know, I always let people know real quick, like you could be 10 steps ahead, but I'm always like 20 steps ahead. I'm always gonna be ahead of those who think that they are ahead of me. And I think that it's just like, I don't fuck with you bitches. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know, and another thing too is that like I feel like a lot of people in like the intense Drag Race fandom have tried to discredit a lot of the things that I've done and try to make it seem like, oh, like my successes are not valid or like my accomplishments are not valid. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like, great. I'm like, you know, maybe I'm not successful to you, but bitch, I already conquered your whole arena. I'm like, I'm over here doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, forgive me for not wanting to do work the world. Bitch, I've already worked the world. You know? It's just like,
yes.
You know,
hey,
it's no shade. It's no shade to the girls who do all those things.
No.
Like that's their thing. And like, you know what? Make that money, bitch. You better go off. You better
That's right.
For me, it's just not for me. It's just like, you know, if I know that I don't fucking like fucking crab, why would I order crab at a restaurant? You know,
Right.
Yes.
and I think some people need to learn that lesson. Like, you know, if you don't like me, don't tune in. You know, people do that shit all the time. It's like,
change the channel, bitch.
you know, I said that in an older song I made called Art Jesus. I said, don't like what you see, change the channel. Like,
there you go. It's that easy. And then you don't have to be a hater. Like, I don't know, people put too much bad energy out into the world. So
Yeah,
it's like
people love to project their insecurities on other people. People love to try to be relevant when they are bored. Like,
yeah.
You know, and that's the thing too, is just like, Sweaty, I'm sorry that you are tired of playing the fence in your boring friend group, that you need to go online to sip mama, that you're over here like, you know, somebody sent me a message the other day and they were like, I'm so sorry that you're working on another flop album. And I was like,
oh god.
And I was just like, in my mind, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I made another flop album, but my first album got over 1 million streams, and it got in the first day got over 100,000 streams collectively. So I was just like, yeah, I was like, okay, I guess, you know.
Well,
okay.
Aja, you've got fans in us. We've been fans. I mean, you can listen to the show. Like, we've got.
Yeah.
We're not going to make you do all that homework.
Just not
now.
the first 5 episodes. Just kidding.
Like, don't call me out.
No, I didn't know. See, it's happening already. It comes back to me. No, this one here is the shady one on the pod.
He's the undercover shady one.
We've been fans of yours from the start, and I say keep doing what you're doing. It's a lesson I've had to learn because I've had to kind of come up and come through certain avenues, and I just had to realize, you know what? They just don't like what you're doing, but what you're doing is not necessarily wrong. They just may be threatened by you, or they may not understand you.
You know, the way that I've also looked at it is a lot of the drag race is predominantly like white women.
Yeah, we talk about them on this podcast.
You know, I make hip hop music, and you know, I've realized that a lot of the people who do consume my music tend to be a lot of queer Black people, a lot of ironically also a lot of queer punk white kids.
Really?
Yes. I get a lot of people from the punk crowd. I guess a lot of punk people like rap music. I also have seen, ever since I started doing music, I see a lot of more Black faces at my shows. I see a lot more I also see a lot more straight people.
Oh, really? They just see your music and they're like, let's go do this.
Well, no, I did a show once for Depop, and a lot of like, and I was kind of surprised, but a lot of like straight Black men showed up.
Nice.
Okay.
People who were like, well, people were like, I was like, first of all, I was like in full just like womana.
Yeah.
but my hair was braided, so I had these little like little box braids, and they had little patch beads, and people were literally dabbing me up like, yo, that was fucking lit. I was like, what is it?
Listen, that music goes off, but what a mind fuck in the moment, I'm sure.
The show was me and this rapper named Malibu Mitch, and it was just so funny. Like I was just like, they were like, bro, that was fucking hot, man. I was like,
okay,
thank you.
You know, I think it's cool to have that type of I don't know, that type of embracing, like, because it's an unexpected that, you know, especially like cis men to just come forward and be like, oh yes, like me and Mark were just talking about this, like, you know, have you heard that song with Pablo Vittar, Anita, and Luisa Sonza?
I don't think I have yet, no.
It's called Mojo Turbo. It's in Portuguese, but it's already in 1 week. It got 25 million views.
Oh wow! Oh damn!
And the fucking song is amazing. It's the best song I've heard every year. And that's
I've got homework.
Oh, I hated every album that came out this year. Chromatica, the Ariana, Dua Lipa, but also I don't like pop music, so it's like different for me.
Yeah.
But this song, bitch, we put it on every day, and we just like we shake our ass so much we have to put basketball shorts on, bitch. We have to like, I'm like, my jeans too tight. But
where's the IG? I would love to see that show.
You know, so literally, so obviously Pablo Vittar is arguably the most popular and most viewed at this point drag artist in the entire world. But she's on the song with Anita, who's again arguably the most famous Brazilian artist, and she sings in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And then you have Luisa Sonza, who's a very popular Brazilian artist. They get on this track, and we were watching reaction videos, and it was just like all these like straight men like watching the video, and then Pablo comes on, and again, it's like at least 75% of them would pause the video and go, I just want to say I don't hate gay people.
Oh God.
I don't, you know, but I'm not going to be sitting here and saying like, you know, she's a man, it's a drag queen. I'm like, this is so unnecessary. Like,
totally.
You know, it was just like,
I hate it when the straights do that.
I hate it too. But you know, to go from that type of energy to like having people like dab me up and being like, oh, like I appreciated this. I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. Like the video, it's so high budget. It's so wild. It's literally them having a twerk off with a robot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm putting that on after this. It sounds like my kind of carrying on.
This is definitely Pablo Vittar's like moment though, because I've been hearing so much about them and like within the past like 6 months or something like that. So I feel like, you know, Pablo is probably on the rise even further because
she's also just so kind. I did 2 music festivals with her, and she was just such a love to like, she invited me over to her trailer, like, and she was like, "Get drunk with me." I was like, "Oh, okay."
All right, cool.
She was so cool, so nice, so awesome, and I think she's gonna break so many fucking barriers. Like again, she's also the first drag artist to ever be nominated for was it a VMA? Was it for a VMA?
Okay.
She did that song with Major Lazer and Anita. Like these are big things that fucking like, bitch, like what?
Yeah, that's big. That's big time.
See, if there's anything that I want to do is I want to be that person. Like I want to be, I want to do stuff that puts me as a queer artist like up there where it's like, you did something that doesn't really happen much often. And I no shade to RuPaul, but I really follow in Pablo's footsteps, if anything. Like she is someone who I really look up to. And I think that even if I don't do drag anymore, I think that I still view her as such a trailblazer.
Big time. Well, I know we've been taking up a lot of your time, so I feel like we're probably at a good point to start closing out the show. But before we do that, of course, everyone knows where to find you online. So we don't need to be telling no @Twitter handles. They know where you are. But I was just wondering if you could give us like some sort of idea when Crown is coming.
Yes.
So I have the first single is scheduled to come out in February.
Okay.
The second single is scheduled to come out in March, and the album is scheduled to come out in April. For my album cover, I'm emulating this album cover that La Lupe did, where a lot of people don't know, but La Lupe was crowned Oshun. And she has this album cover where it's her dressed in all white, and she's there's something we call Mofori Ballet, and it's when you salute the Orisha, and she's doing an Oshun salute on the cover of the album, dressed in all white. So on the album cover, I'm gonna be doing Mofori Ballet, but while dressed up in traditional Oshun garb. So.
Well, we will be the most excited to share that when that drops.
Yes, I'm ready to pre-save that shit, girl.
Yeah.
I'm excited to this album is just like,
it's gonna be good.
It's not, to be honest with you, it's like, it's not a bop or anything. It's literally just like emotional, and it's just like it's happy, it's angry, it's sad, it's just. And what's crazy too is that in the order I wrote it, I felt like it manifested in the same order that my life is going on. And right now we're kind of on track 8. Like I'm not even joking with you. Like,
wow.
I was listening to it and I was like, bro, I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this is crazy. I also have a song on it called Black Ariel, which is the song inspired by Yemaya, but it's an homage to Black femmes. Okay. And that track is wild. Like when I tell you, I had one of my features who was on one of my past EPs. Her name is Amira Wang. She's a rapper from Kansas City, and she has this like kind of just like, let me tell you something. There's bad bitch, and then there's like, oh shit, and she's very, oh shit. She went on. I told her, I said, okay, can you write a verse for the track? And she goes, I think we should do a third verse and an outro, and we should. I was like, okay. So she sent me the verse back, and I was like, first of all, this is going to be a moshing song. Period. Like I was listening to it and I was like, yo, not only do I feel very proud to be who I am, but I also want to punch someone in the face.
Yeah.
Been there.
I'm really excited. Black Ariel.
I know.
Everyone listening, remember that track.
I'm also going to remember track 8. I'm going to remember this moment and I'm going to go back and listen to it.
I'll play it for you. I don't care.
Well, thank you again, Aja, for coming on the show. This has been like the best night of my life. I don't know.
I know. I feel so like, just thank you so much for doing this, because I mean, we're just a little baby podcast, but you don't understand. We stand what you do. And I know in the toxicness of Drag Race, those comments and that love can be hard to find. And I just want you to feel all of it from us, because we support you and everything you're doing. We're so excited for where your career is going, and just keep it up, sis.
Yes, thank you.
All right. And with that, just go say bye to everybody. We'll be back next week, I'm sure, with a brand new podcast. And yeah, anytime you want to come on, Aja, you just let us know. If something new happens, you got stuff to say.
If you want to talk about what you had for breakfast, we'll schedule it.
This is the byproduct of me and Jamal being messy.
Yeah. I'm happy though, because like it really did bring us together, and you're just such an amazing person and so easy to talk to. Like this has just been so much fun.
I agree.
Corona got. Uh-oh. No, don't joke about that.
Oh, I'll cut that part out. But yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Be safe. Don't talk to strangers unless they have money. Don't get pregnant unless you want to. And also remember, abortion is now legal in Argentina. Shout out Argentina.
Oh yeah. Can we also promote your OnlyFans? Is that okay?
Oh yes. Follow my OnlyFans. It's www.onlyfans.com/AJAOXUM.
Yes.
Where you will find my exclusive content. Bitch, yes, it's the zhuzh.
Work.
Yeah. We're all about promoting sex work here, so I didn't want to leave without promoting. I was like, we got to send these people to Aja. We got to send these people to support her. So yeah, I guess we'll end the podcast, but I definitely want to hear this. I would love to hear some of Crown if you wanted to play it.
All right, listeners, we're gonna say bye, and then I'm gonna hit stop recording.
There, yeah, we'll stop recording so Aja knows we're not fucking with her shit.
That's right. So until then,
bye.
Bye.